So today here, what we're going to talk is the new OpenAI Codex, which is now in Rust, which is super cool. So I don't know if you have seen the news here. It was like a few days ago or last week. And this is basically, it was done in Node.js, and they are rewriting it, and they are already started to rewrite in Rust. So that is pretty cool. And so one of the reasons here, so we can go and see actually the article here on one on TechZine here. So basically, is OpenAI has rewritten the command line. So it's a command line, it's Codex. So it's a little bit like AI Pack. AI Pack is more generic, it's very unique. I need to do more videos about it and stuff. But I do think, and I'm going to explain why. I do think that Rust, for this kind of things, for OpenAI, for Google, for Anthropic and stuff, they have to embrace Rust. It's crazy 2025 when you're a big company like that, and there's already a lot of Rust developers to do something in Node.js. I don't get it. Python, perhaps, because there's so many crazy stuff, but still, when you are talking to an LLM, you're not in the business of running and training anyway. So the value of being in this kind of other language is so. For me, there's two languages for command lines. It's probably Go. I'm not a big fan of the Go language, but the Go language and the Go runtime and the Go ecosystem is a solid one. So it's not, these guys, they know what they're doing. Not a fan of the language, but if you have a team in Go, there's nothing wrong with that. I do think, obviously, that Rust it's better. But if you don't have a team and you only have a team in Go, you do it in Go. But for me, Rust is kind of the top gun here. And so, well, the epic thumbnail, I had a boring one. Oh, you want the story? We are live. I can show you. Can I show you the story? Yeah. Here's the thing, okay? So this one was the thing. So this is my thumbnail. And here it is. That was Jamie. Not too bad, but kind of boring. Yeah. This is me, boring guy. This is AI. So I just put it 04 mini and I say, hey, can you make it a little bit better? It didn't do the right thing, but then after I recompose it, and it was pretty cool. So anyway, all of that to say that the reason why, so let me get back to this one. So, they are rewriting the things in Rust, and performance and security. Security is, well, in their case, might make sense, but the security is not the memory safe of Rust. It's something else. Yeah? The memory safe of Rust doesn't make your application less buggy. People can hack less because there's no memory overflow and stuff. But it's not, you can still make things unsafe, meaning not unsafe from a memory standpoint, but you can still allow people to call and delete files if you're not careful and all these kind of things by giving scripting and MCP tools and so on. So with the MCP, there's a lot of consideration on security, and we're going to see later what they are using a little bit. And so they are moving away from Node.js. I have nothing against Node.js. We use a lot Node.js in our macro services kind of things. Before, back in the days, like 2-3 years ago, I had a lot of utilities done in Node.js, TypeScript. I moved everything in Rust. Cannot be happier with that. So now I'm actually more productive in Rust than in Node.js, believe it or not. And so that is our Codex assistant. And the Codex is really about coding in a way. AI Pack is a runtime as well, very kind of similar, but more generic in a way. And the coding part is just one of the pack, which I maintain, which is a pro coder. So for them, they are deeper into this Codex experience. Hey, Jack, thank you for joining. And so I don't know why I call you Jack. It's Jacques. So Codex CLI here, it's open source on GitHub. So we're going to look at it. Actually, I found the code. Tomorrow, hopefully, I can find the link back. And we're going to look at it. It's pretty cool. And then there's stuff that I'm not really sure that I compute, but it's going to be interesting. Hey, so we have John on the live. That's great. You should be able to unmute the mic if you have any questions, and people should be able to hear you as well as I can. Bugs, so apparently they are moving to Rust, and then the other one, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. They are moving to Rust, and then they are on bug fix, basically, and they are moving to Rust. And in their side, they're saying it's not feature parity yet, but there's already new features in the Rust that there is not in the TypeScript. Yeah, so they are in the kind of transition phase. So the first one here, there's 4 reasons that they say. And then after I'm going to talk about my 4 reasons why I think this kind of things is always the best. I mean, Rust is the best for this kind of application, clearly. And so the first one here, what they're saying is the installation without dependencies. And this is a big one, yes? When you start installing Node.js and stuff, you install a bunch of stuff, everything with Python, you install a gigabyte of things. So for people that have Python, they don't feel the pain. Node.js is a little bit more packaged, I guess, but you still add a lot of noise, yeah? And so in many ways, that comes with a whole binary, and then that's it. You have a binary, and then that's it. And so for AI Pack, for example, the binary is 15 meg or 16 meg, and then we talk to any AI providers, and then all this kind of thing. So for them, it makes complete sense here to move to Rust for that, to simplify. The other options, which is a valid one, it's Go as well, because Go will compile to a binary as well. It will have a garbage collecting, but it's part of the binary in a way. Java, you could do it with Java, but the problem with Java is that you end up by doing, there's a way that you can compile it into a binary, and then the VM is embedded inside the binary, obviously. But then there's a lot of things in Java that you cannot use. For example, a lot of libraries are using introspection, and that doesn't really work when you are bundling as a binary, the last time I checked. So Java, like people will say, yeah, it's possible, but then you are on the edge of the thing. You're not on the core of the thing. And then after, the other kind of things is, the other thing that I'm mentioning is sandboxing for more security. And so if we look at this, we shouldn't confuse that with memory safety. That is not what they're saying here. Yeah? What they're saying here is that they are using this kind here, which is Apple Sandbox exec. And then there's something else in Linux that I need to check. I haven't checked those guys. Landlock. And this is important because in AI, and I think it's going, we all need to solve this in a way, yeah? And it's not solved yet. With MCP here, what is happening is you have all these tools, but if you give them the full access to your computer and stuff, which is very powerful, it can go crazy because then the AI will start calling them and everything, and then the things will have to be in you don't want to be at the middle of saying okay all the time. So then it will kind of start doing actions, and it can be very dangerous. So this is why, for example, in AI Pack, you can load a file, you can write a file. I try to sandbox them because everything is Lua, so I can sandbox them better. But when you are running MCPs and everything, it's tricky, yeah, because an MCP is out of process, and that is a big trick here. So they have these things where they are using the sandbox exec, which is interesting, and then the landlock. And then obviously you can containerize the thing, but then it's get a little bit harder to use. Yeah. So that is one thing that they are doing, the sandboxing. But again, the sandboxing is not a raw thing. You could do it in Java, Go, or whatever. So it's not the same thing as a memory safe. So the better performance. So yes, Rust is faster, definitely. and this is what we're using it at with AI Pack. I think it's more on the less memory size. So that is very important when you are doing in the cloud, because in the cloud, it allows you to have pods or Docker images that are very small. So rather to have 1 gig, 2 gig or whatever, you can have something with 100 meg or whatever. And that is what you pay actually. So then you can stack more pods into the same node in AWS or whatever. And that allows you to scale much better because you don't overuse memory. On your local disk, honestly, memory and things, usually people might have enough. So I'm not sure it gives a big boost, but it's always nice to have something much more tight than something that takes 400, 500 meg and so on. And then it's resulting in faster and more efficient execution. So yes, so that is definitely correct. I'm going to show you the slide that I like to show of why I think Rust is the best for this kind of application. There's a little nuance over there. When you do a coder or something like that, where it really, the frame of scale, the scale of frame, is not the millisecond, because anyway, you are going to talk to LLM, and the LLM is always in the second, at least if it's not 10 of seconds, kind of order of magnitudes. So the fact that you can do something faster in Rust for most of the common case is not a deal breaker in a way. It's not a thing that makes the whole thing change, except for when you start doing background processing. So for example, in our case, in AI Pack, we have all these functions because we're allowed to run custom agent in Lua, but the Lua is linked into Rust. And so then you can hash a file and say, hash me this file, but rather to have the hash, Blake 3 or SHA-256 or SHA-512, rather to have the hash going to the Node.js, JavaScript or whatever, or even Lua, and then you load the 5 gig files to do a hash, then you can do the hash just in the Rust side. And that is game changer. Yeah. So use right here, you can really kind of have these kind of things, background processing, which can be game changer. One thing that I would say here is that the performance for me is more about you can be, yes, memory efficient as a C, C++, and you can have high, safe concurrency without hanging yourself, which is very hard if you try to do it in C, C++ without 15 years of experience. For example, the last time I coded C or C++, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to look too old, but it was a very long time ago, and I wouldn't give myself authorization to do a concurrent program in C or C++. I would say, I don't have the experience, I don't have the 10 years behind me to be able to do that. In Rust, fearless. The whole compiler gives you stuff. And that really changed a little bit this whole performance. I think the performance comes from here. From now, we can actually do highly concurrent. The way, and I will do more videos, but the way that I'm code designing, for example, the agentic crate, which is a MCP client and server, the way that I'm building the AI Pack, which is a runtime, an agentic runtime, you have Lua and everything. I build them as almost cloud application. So inside is all inside the same process, obviously, but it's very distributed from an architecture standpoint with all of the messages and all these kind of things. And that allows you to have high concurrency, to simplify concurrency and not to have crazy bugs and all this kind of things. So that, I think, is where the performance really comes in. And so that is a thing which is interesting. We're going to look at the code. Yesterday, so hopefully I'm going to find the code. But yesterday I did the first kind of dig down in the code, and it's funny, on the MCP, I didn't see them reusing any MCP. There's an ongoing or a new official MCP from the MCP spec people, and I don't see them using that. So that line here, I'm not sure if I'm missing something, because when you look at the code, it's not there. It seems that they have their own implementation, but we're going to look at that. And then one of the things here on the other hand, so this one here, more efficient at code. Yeah, okay. So that is the whole thing about is more efficient, which is true than Node.js, V8, and so on. So that's definitely true. And then it's saying that there's not only OpenAI doing that, and the creator of Vue.js. Yeah, so we see a lot of tools now, even Python and everything, using Rust. There's one tool that, and unfortunately I don't use it as much as I would love to, because I don't have the use case yet, but I might in AI Pack actually. It's Polars. So Polars is these things. Let me look at this, is Polars. Rust. Yeah, this guy here. And so that is a Rust library that you can use, but they have a very Python-X library, facade, because Python is a facade language. Okay? And the developer or the developers, I don't know, super good. This is to do the data frame kind of things like pandas, very efficient, more efficient, I think. And they have a very good Python kind of facade API. So now this is the best of both worlds. Yeah? You get the C++ fast in Rust, and then you get the facade, which could be a Python. So we're going to see more and more of that over time. So when people are saying, oh, Rust is going down, don't worry. At the end of the day, net value, if it's there, people will adopt it. Yeah. And so that is a thing. And what they're saying is memory usage is 100 times lower. That is true. So that is what I've seen. It's probably in Go, I think they might have a better way of managing memories. But in most of the case that I've seen, for example, like in Java, it's 100 times X. And so for me, software development is all about order of magnitudes. If you save 2x or 50%, might be good on a high volume kind of things. If you're Amazon, if you're a normal company or whatever, even a relatively big size, 2x or 50% faster or less memory is no game changer. However, when you start hitting the 10x, the 50x, the 100x, then the whole dynamic and the whole complexity of this part of the system collapse. So that is a big deal. So in fact, if I go back here and I'm going to look at the way I see it for me, when I look at Rust, this is the four big things that I think Rust make a big difference. The first one is efficient on disk and in memory. And that is the important point here, this guy here, the memory side, because in the cloud, the memory will allow you to deploy many more pods, and so you will have many more parallelism in your system, in your distributed cloud system, at lower cost. And that can change quite a bit. In a local device, in a mobile device, this is game changer as well, because obviously you are limited. And in a laptop, it's also can be beneficial, not as big, but it can be. The fact that it's a smaller size, sometimes it can be 100 times smaller, or let's say 50 times or 20 times, and that is a big deal as well. Now, some people say, well, what's the matter? I have enough disk there and stuff, and that might be a valid kind of counter-argument. But the memory can be very important. The second one here is that it's fast. So with that, obviously, you are as fast as C++. And that, with the cost of C++, again, for concurrency, that might not be like best, again, you say, okay, I'm fast, but I'm taking so much risk, and my application can be relatively, not brittle, because that is more on the JavaScript Python side, but more can crash all of a sudden, or can have security issues. The rare thing here is this kind of safety, which we know, as a Rust developer, we we've heard and we experience, memory safety. And the memory safety is good, it's awesome, but the big benefit, at least for what I see for my type of application, is that now we can do fearless concurrency. At some point, it was trending in Rust. Such as now, people like us, like me, that were used to Node.js or Java or this kind of memory managed languages, we can do concurrency safer than in Java. Because again, in Java, for example, string buffer or string builder, I don't remember, it's been a long time, well, you cannot use it. One of them, you cannot use it in a concurrency mode, but nothing prevents you to do that. So the only thing that you're going to realize that you did a mistake is way too late. Now, for the string buffer and string builder, usually that is part of the interview questions. So you remember, and everybody is very proud of remembering that. But there are things that are very insidious, like, for example, a date formatter. The last time I checked, and that was a long time, yeah, that was 5 or 7 years ago or whatever, or even 10 years ago, I had a date formatter. And so you build your date formatter and say, hey, here's how I want to format the date. Once you build it, you will assume that it's stateless and you can use it in different threads. Well, no, it was not the case at the time. I don't know if it's still. But it was not like a big warning in the docs and stuff. So that is one thing here that in Rust, we may complain, but I never complain. I say, oh, save me to do a silly thing. Now, for C++ experts that are 15 years, they are going to say, well, in this case, the compiler was not good enough, yeah, because it could have, find that this was okay. For me, the net value is so high that I'm okay to lose some of the corner cases and having to do them other ways. And I forbid myself, and again, because I don't have 10 years experience in the last 5 years, I forbid myself to do unsafe. And so I trust other people to do unsafe if they know what they're doing, but I don't do unsafe. But the cool thing with Rust is fully highly concurrent. And that is the way we build AI pack and everything. So that I think is a big one. And then the fourth one, and that could be arguable, a lot of people are going to kind of disagree on this one, is the fact that it's super highly productive. Yeah. So that is kind of the fourth thing. And for me, the type system and all the construct and the message passing and so on is highly productive. The only one that kind of slow me down sometimes is this whole async, when you need to have async function and people giving you async trait and stuff, that kind of slow down. But the value overall is pretty big. So I'm going to have a last slide, and then we're going to go to the code here. So the way that I see that, and at the high level, and I'm going to probably show this slide other times as well, but the way that I see that is we have two kind of language at the high level. The memory is developer managed, and so that is a C and C++. So in C, you are on your own, good luck. And then in C++, you have a lot of opt-ins, smart pointers and everything, but they're opt-ins. They are not opt-out. You have to opt-in about it. Then you have the memory managed, and that is the JavaScript, the Python, and the Java, Go, and Swift in many ways as well, because its reference counting is kind of similar. And so those guys is, yes, the developer is not developer managed, is runtime managed, the memory management, but then it comes in a cost, and usually in a cost of more memory and so on. And then if you're really at scale, a lot of people are spending a huge amount of time on this garbage collecting kind of issues of optimization and all this kind of things. So there's a whole planet over there. Now, the nice things with Rust is that the memory, so that is, this slide is about memory. The memory is compiler managed. So that is the way that I see it. So the compiler is managing it, preventing us to do crazy stuff. And so now we can run fast and efficient, low memory. We don't have to pay the taxes of garbage collection. And then we can, that's my experience now, once we've learned it, I code as fast, if it's not faster, again, than JavaScript and so on. So obviously for a little code, here I go, but then when I know I start a code and I say, well, this is going to start at 20 and 50 lines, but then I'm going to go to 1,000 line or 3,000 line, which is, a small utility. When you are 3,000 line, it's way faster. My experience for me, I'm way faster with Rust. And with Rust, and I do a lot of TypeScript and so on in the past, when I come back to a code 6 months later, I have a much higher productivity than if I have another language. So I always find my bugs faster. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I see John here, you're online. Feel free to unmute if you have questions. And now what we're going to do is, one thing I wanted to do is going to the site here. So we're going to go to the site this way, actually. And actually I'm going to change that, because otherwise I'm going to bug everybody and not look at the right place. So let me do that. Okay, so you should see the site over there. And so now let's go and look at the site. Dev class rewritten. Is this guy is a link? Yes, okay, cool. Okay, Codex. So you go to OpenAI Codex, and you are going to see, so that is one thing in the article that I'm not finding the duck here. So when you are on their OpenAI Codex repos, it seems to have a mono repo. So that is the thing that they have, which makes sense. They have the docs, the patches, the scripts. This one seems to be the Node.js guy. So if we go there, we should have a package.json. Something like that. Yep. Can see what they are using actually there. I'm going to use a lot of stuff, but what do they use as MCP? I don't know. They don't have MCP on this one. And I think is when they started to do MCP, they probably say, okay, the code might have issue to scale. I don't know. I'm just, okay. Yeah, they don't have MCP. So this guy is that guy. And then we have, if we go up to that guy, now we're going to have the codex.rx. Okay, so that is good. So now one thing which is weird, and if we go to create here, they are not there. Human-friendly notation symbol. No, it's not them. Okay, so they are not there. I don't think they published it. They could, yeah, because, for example, if you go to AI Pack, you can do a cargo install AI Pack. It's very cool, AI Pack. So anyway, I'm kidding. So they are the big boys. And so now if we go there, they have the cargo to ML. So we're going to see what they are using. And this is where sometimes I'm not sure. So they have the MCP client, MCP server, and MCP site. This is a good. So what they have here, so let's analyze a little bit the code. What they have is they have a multi-crate business, which is a good architecture. When you scale your code, you want to have a multi-crate because that allows you to scale better. And it will compile better, it will be faster. It's a good practice in Rust. In multi-crate, you cannot have cyclic references. So you have to make sure to know who are the leaf, meaning the one that will use nobody, and those will be used everywhere. So often I have utils or something relatively low, and then the component, I make sure that there's no cyclic kind of dependencies. So that is a recommend, which makes a lot of sense. So it's not like a limitation of Rust, it's a good kind of thing. So they have a multi-crate, so we can go and look at that. And this is those guys. Yeah? And so they have MCP client, MCP server, MCP types. That is a good way. Sometimes what you do is you have your type somewhere, and then you have your client and your server. The way that I have implemented agentic is I'm trying to put both at the same level, because the agentic crate is only going to do that, so I'm fine. But this is a good way of splitting it. Now, one thing that I'm not really sure is here what they are saying. What they are saying. MCP. Yeah. Use of existing Rust implementation of MCP. And that is where I was curious to know what they were using. So that is their crate. So it's not existing. Yeah, it's their crate. We're going to look that. This sounds very good. And so now we go back on this guy, and then we're going to see the MCP client. So we go to MCP type first. So that will be the leaf probably used by both. We're going to go there, and I think, they don't have any dependencies, just CRD, which makes sense. And then we have the source over there. Let me move up a little bit my camera over there because. And then this is just a lib, which makes sense. And that has all the types. So I took a little different approach in my agentic crate. I have all the types, and it's very ergonomic, so it's different. But for them, it's good because they own it, and so they have the architecture that makes sense for them. But right now, no external dependencies. Yeah? So there's no existing stuff. Now, if you go to the client, this one is interesting as well. Yeah? We're going to go to the cargo, and they use the MCP types, which makes sense. They have the CRD, which makes sense. Tracing makes sense. Tokyo, the whole 9 yards, which makes sense. So all of that makes sense. But as you can see, there's no external thing at all. So I'm not sure the external comment here of the article. Now it's hard, yeah, because when you write an article, you don't have the time to go and check stuff. And so that is a lib, and this is the thing. So either I'm not smart at all, and I make complex stuff, or I'm missing something, because a client is a little bit more involved than 3 files. Yeah, so that is the thing. So the main, I think, is a command line to exercise MCP client. That's funny. So that's mine. They have a client, and they can call it as a command line, I guess. And that is relatively small. That is initialize the params, that makes sense. And then, so that makes sense. And then tools, client list tools. And the client is Codex MCP client. But that is their guys. Yeah, I think that is their guys. If I go back there, that should be the lib, I think. Yeah, MCP client. They re-export the MCP client. And so that we are there. Yeah, so this is the MCP client, and it's one file. Now, that looks okay. I think there's a lot of things here. I'm not sure they are covering everything. My take, and again, it's not a judgment of value. People can do the same thing with my code. There's a lot of things. I'm never happy with my code. Yeah, so I'm not like judging stuff. I think it's awesome that they are doing that. I'm just trying to, read the things and share everything I think. I might be wrong. It's completely fine. I don't want to get too philosophical, but me in life, I don't believe in truth. I believe in proximity. And proximity is multidimensional, so we can be as close of the truth, but from 2 different perspectives, and that's fine. So it's not at all to say, one way is better. It's more like, here's the way I do it, and here's why I'm not doing it this way. Yeah. So, for example, in my libs, usually I do not have anyhow. Anyhow is not, I'm not a fan of anyhow. Now, I think the developer that created anyhow is super good, yeah. But the context of being in a non-Rust era kind of things is not something I like in my approach. Again, I'm not saying one is better, but I'm just sharing. So, but that might be okay. But the thing I'm saying is to say this seems to be a very little code for an MCP client. So my first thing here is to say it's kind of weird. So when, for example, we go through Rust, I think yesterday. So I have my agentic crate, but I don't want even to push my crates. It's not about me vs others. But if we go Rust MCP official, yeah, we should get, yeah, the official Rust indicator. So that is the stuff here, which I think this org, I think is maintained by the Anthropic guys or the MCP organization. I don't know at what stage they are. Crab Nebula guys are obviously top guns. And this is awesome. And then they have this R MCP. And if you look at the thing, so they have a multi-crate approach as well. For me, I don't have a multi-crate approach because I didn't need the MCP macros. You can see that they have multi-crates because they have macros, procedural macros. So you have to have things. But they didn't use multi-crate because they needed other crate. When you do a lib, typically, that is what you have. If you have macros, you have to have another crate. But typically, you might not need to have multi-crates. But it depends. They have the source, but you will see here that beside the types, so it's true that those guys have the types, but you have quite a bit, and it's the same thing for me in my agentic. There's quite a bit of work in the transport and everything. And the transport is even getting trickier because with HTTP, we have all this kind of thing. So that is one thing that it's curious here to understand. But might be in work in progress. And they might eventually use this one. Or who knows, agentic perhaps. So that is interesting. And so what I want to do, so one thing I did yesterday, I went there, and it's funny, they say that npm that and this way to install native, yeah, because Node.js allows you to install native stuff. Now, I have Node.js and I use Node.js to test MCPs because, you know, the reference implementation servers is there and stuff, so it's very good. So I have nothing, not emotionally against Node.js, but it's a Rust app. So I'm saying, hey, you know, we should be able to install it, do a cargo install business. Yeah? So let's try to do that. I want to try to do that. That is what I wanted. So I'm going to go back there. And again, these live streams, they are not scripted. It's not something that I fully plan and everything. They are more like something I needed to do, I wanted to do, and I say, hey, should I do that live or not? Okay. Feel free to add comments to see what you like, what you don't like, such as I can make them better. And eventually I might, this one I'm not sure, but you know, I might make a scripted video on the stuff. And then this stream here will be public forever. I'm going to try to make more stream public. And then we also have production coding live stream members only. But I'm going to make much more public. So now we're going to clone this guy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my terminal. I'm going to go to, so the way I do it when I do a quick stuff like that, I'm going to go cd tmp, I think I have, ls. Yeah, so I'm going to do a git clone. I'm going to do that guy. So that we clone is a mono repo, clone everything. It's not too bad. Then I go to it, Codex. That's fine. And now I have two choices. Either I open VS Code there. So, and then the reason why I'm thinking here is because, yeah, Jack, no, Jacques, yeah, no problem. Don't worry. Yeah, it's completely fine. I completely understand. I don't want to push that. So I am in this stage where I'm not trying to push people anywhere. I want to give, but I want to experiment these membership things. And so I'm trying to do the stuff. And by the way, if you have a video in the membership and you really want to do it, Jacques, ask me. I can put it back into the $5 membership, such as you can look at it. And people, if you want to have something public, ask me, I put it back, and then I put it back to the stream. I'm not tight on anything. Yeah, I'm just experimenting more than anything. But I want to share more content, and so that is what I'm trying to do. And I don't have the strategy right now because I know I'm missing something. So that is interesting. So here's the thing that goes to my head. I'm afraid here that they have their Codex Clear, which is Node.js, Codex RS, which is Rust, but they still have a package.json at this level, which tells me that their tools, and this is what I would have done as well. This is the same thing. Script. They say, well, because we're used with Node.js and stuff, which makes sense. They have all their script, their build script in Node.js, which makes sense again, nothing. So I'm asking myself, well, if I go to Codex, we're going to go there, and then we're going to open Codex, and we're going to see if it's a standalone thing or if we need a parent. So my hope here is we're going to code that guy. So that should open this guy. Okay. Now I'm going to make it bigger for you guys. I have a smarter way to make it bigger. So wait for a sec. I have this JSON here, which is for, I'm going to create a file, VS Code, settings.json. And then if I do that, boom. Okay, so now we have the good thing. So my computer is starting to have the fan right now. So, and this is because he was building. I don't know why we don't see this guy anymore, but he was building. And so let me do the stuff. And then let me do a cargo build. So there's quite a bit stuff that needs to be built. I'm going to see that. If you have any question, feel free. Oh, sorry, my thing. Hide everything. If you have any question, feel free to ask question here, anywhere. And if you're on the meeting and stuff. So my fan is going pretty high right now. You don't hear it because I have a pretty cool mute stuff, but it's pretty loud. Can I remove the stuff for you? Yeah, anyway. So anyway, this stuff works quite a bit. So now that we have that, well, okay, it was a little bit. We're going to try to do a cargo. So one thing I like to do a lot is that guy, I do a cargo install --path dot. And so that is what I use a lot. And in fact, I obviously have, as you know, an alias for that, which is CW for cargo watch install, CWI. And that we do a cargo watch and install.path and all of that. And that allows me, when I change the code, I can use my command line anywhere I want. And it's almost like scripting, because I change the code, it will recompile it, and then I use it there. So it's a very nice way. So we're going to do a cargo install --path dot. Boom. Epic fail. Found virtual manifest. Yeah, okay, good luck. Okay, so let's go back that. No problem. We'll go back. Over there. Oh no. Ah, but my UI is getting very slow now. Oof. Okay, my terminal somehow kind of froze over there. I don't know why. So, in fact, if I go back one, do I have another cargo here? So why does it bother me over there? Do you ever use tools to speed up compile times? Learning Rust? No, I don't. For now, I'm not saying I will not. For now, I'm not. Okay, wait. Oh, my computer is getting very slow here. It's going to be tricky to finish this guy. Okay, it's better. No, sorry about that. Do you ever use tools to speed up compile times? I look at Scache, great, but not sure if I'm using it optimally. No, I haven't done that. At some point, a long time ago, I was using a trick with Bevy because that is important to have kind of this live very fast. For me, the technique that I have with the cargo watch business has been plenty enough. So I didn't really need any special things for now. Now, we'll see later as the time goes, but so far I'm okay. And when the things become big, I split them into a subcrate, which helps. But if you use those tools and those tools make a difference to you, like time 2, even on this one, if it's time 2, time 3, if it goes sub-second or within 1 to 2 seconds rather than 10, then that is a big deal and you should use those. Yeah. So I'm not sure. So right now here, I'm cd codex rs cargo build -- release. So that should work. Now, I have a little bit of delay, not too bad. Now, the reason is, clear here. Yeah, that's maybe fair, I think. It's over there. So I did it wrong, my bad. So actually, we're going to see if this multi-crate stuff is going to be good. So usually what I like to do, I'm not saying it's good, it's better, yeah? But I like to put all the crates under a folder which is crates. It's not super elegant, but then I know what is crate and what is doc and what is something else. So that is the way I like it, but everything is fine. So now, yeah, I have a little bit of a delay there. Okay. So the last one here is going to be the big one. And then we're going to go back there and hopefully all of that will be compiled. And then we'll do a cargo install of that guy. And if that is good, it should be good. I mean, I will be them. I will publish it to Codex Clear. We'll publish it there. We'll be happy to install it from there. So again, a lot of noise. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. John, feel free to unmute and ask question. Let me know if you cannot unmute. You should be able to unmute. As you don't hear, but my phone is going crazy right now. Okay, cool. Stuff. So anyway, so usually, let me show you. Okay, so I've done another big app a while back, which is the awesome app Reboot, but it's not in a stage where I can share it because I was trying to do too much. I didn't release early enough. But this is the way I do. Yeah, I have my clients and I have all my crates like that. So I have my app, my CLI basically, and then I have lib like that. And sometime when it's a web app, my Rust web app that I'm going to go back to soon, I split them even further. Yeah, so I split the crate into libs and into services. So that, and into tools. So that is where. So that is kind of a mono repo, but a mono repo for one system, not for the whole life of everything. It's for one system, mono repo, and it can be pretty good. Hey, Mike, joining the MS team. That's awesome. And so let's see. So now let's close these guys. We're going to go back there, compile everything. We compile everything. So we're going to go to CLI. This is what I will do. I'm going to click on this guy, Codex CLI. That's fine. The name Codex, which makes sense because they are taking the Codex here. They are doing the lib. Okay, that's fair enough. So what they have is, what do they have is the CLI is basically a lib as well. Okay, so that is a way to do it. That's pretty good. So somehow they wanted to have it's one that does both, which makes sense. Yeah. Which makes sense. Why does it make sense? Yeah, I actually don't know. I'm sure it makes sense, but I'm not sure why you would need that, except if another guy over there will need that. But if your main need whatever types, I'm not sure you would need that. That's my take. But again, I don't know. I'm discovering it as with you guys. So can you explain a bit about your agentic API send requests? Yes. Was your thought process to design it that way? It's pretty cool that each different request get their own result type. Yes, that was, I'm going to talk about that later. But yes, this was the thing. And it's funny because I asked AI to generate, because I had the whole spec, because I put the whole spec in one TypeScript files, the MCP guys, awesome. And then AI did it in a very idiomatic way, but without trying to do puns with my accent and everything. Is sometimes when you try to be too idiomatic, it can be a little bit idiotic, yeah, whatever the accent is. So it's kind of a balance where you want to be idiomatic, but have your approach to be ergonomic. And I like ergonomic APIs because it helps a lot code clarity. Yeah, that is what I like. And Rust, I think, is awesome to have amazingly ergonomic API without compromising in a full type system. Anyway, the lint here, workspace, I do that as well. They have these guys. The anyhow here is definitely not my best practices, but that's fine. I mean, that's fine. Obviously, I'm not. Clap, that's good. This is what I use. Codex. So that makes sense. Yeah, and they are like prefixing it, which makes sense. Sometimes I say lib dash, such as I know that lib underscore is always my stuff, but this makes total sense as well. TUI, that's cool. That means that they have a library for doing TUI. Tokyo, makes sense, and things. Often I like to split stuff up, but that's good. So it looks solid here. Go to the main, and the main has the CLI tool, so that is the CLI commands, the exec. Yep, that makes sense. I like to put it in arcs, but that is obviously completely fine. I have another kind of, I have a little, okay, AI pack. So again, when I'm showing that, it's very important here. I'm not lecturing. I'm not saying I'm right, I'm wrong, I might be wrong, there might be good reasons and stuff. I'm just sharing, what I'm doing, why. Again, there's many different ways of doing this same thing, and nobody holds the truth. Yeah. There's bad codes. Bad code is bad code, but here there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. So usually the things that I like to do, and I'm taking my AI pack. Where was that? Oh yeah, okay. This is a way I like, and I need to do a video on best practices on this guy, but I have all of these kind of things, and usually I have a folder, and I put my exec, and then I have my args under CLI. This is my args. And I put all the clap arguments there. So I know they are all there. And my best practices, typically I don't like, I could have just an args. I didn't know if that was going to expand or not. I refactored it a couple of times. So here all of that could be one file there. It doesn't need, because that is a little bit silly. But the point here is that this way I can scale that if I want. So this is just the CLI business, and that is the executor kind of thing. That's the way I like to split. But that approach is completely fine, obviously. And then the main should be this one here, CLI main. They have a main. And that's good. It's interesting. Run with Sandbox. That is what I don't have. So that is their stuff, Linux Sandbox. Why is it Linux Sandbox? Now I'm confused. Confused about this guy here. Because it should have, config and OS and everything. Why does it go to Linux Sandbox? I would assume that Mac Sandbox and Linux Sandbox is different, as he was saying over there. So this is one thing here that I'm not really sure. That is interesting. Okay. Then that. So let's go. I'm sorry for the one that have been waiting here. We're going to do a cargo. So this is what I want. This is super frustrating. I'm going to do a cargo install --path dot. And again, for the people that are just coming, this is heaven. Yeah, these guys, and you do a cargo watch -x install stuff. So I like cargo watch, even if it's on maintenance mode, it's still the simplest, and I like it. So cargo watch -quiet -clear, because I don't like noise, -x, and then I do a nest. So that is execute install --path dot. So I do that for my own, not here, yeah, but for my own libs. And then when I change code, then I can use my library everywhere. So I have quite a bit of libraries that are just for me, that I use this pattern. And every time I'm debugging, so for my DaVinci Resolve, I have things that cut all the silence and everything at the frame level. And all of these kind of things is I do this when I change the code, and then it goes super fast. That's it. But for now, we're just going to do install path dot. And that is working pretty good. So I was at the root, and then obviously cargo say, hey, there's nothing to install there. Now there's something to install because we have the bin stuff guy over there. Yeah. So let's see that. I'm curious about that. Control F, Control C, Control Shift, and we're going to say use that guy. Who is doing this? Nobody. So why? Yeah, I'm not sure they need that. Because that here, they could have a crate. Yeah, so I'm not sure they need that. But again, they might have a good reason. And if it's not, if it's a mistake, anybody can go to my code and find 100 mistakes. Yeah, so it's like it's awesome that OpenAI is going to Rust. I'm so excited about that. And I think one thing I wanted to do live is to check what Anthropic is doing. So Cloud Desktop GitHub. Is it open source, Cloud Desktop? No. I'm not sure it is open source. It's an Electron-based. Okay. Anthropic, if you are listening, you are going to move to Rust. Do it early, not later. It's inevitable. You are not going to goof around with your command line on Electron. It just doesn't make sense. For UI, perhaps because you have Chrome is embedded and all these kind of things. But me, I'm a big fan of Tori, so I think I'm surprised that people don't use Tori more. But for command line, I think it's a no-brainer. So if that is the case, they are going to move to Rust or Go. This is the two guys that they can go. So depend of how their team feel comfortable with. But Rust, I think, has a highest yield. So that is pretty cool. So now if I go to my terminal, but I think this terminal went crazy for whatever reason. Okay, now it's working. So Codex, that's it. Codex login, run command quick, and then run this command to quick. So I'm not a Codex user, so I don't know. Okay, that's fair enough. That's cool. So what I did here, Command D to quit. So what I did here is my JKeys is an ugly one. I'm not proud of this guy, okay? So it's an alias that call a little Rust that I have that get into the key chain, all the values, and then put it there. So it's a little hack. I don't like it because it doesn't prompt me for the password every time. So now that my binary has been prompted once to get the keychain, Mac doesn't prompt it again. I need to change it to make sure I get prompt all the time. I'm not sure how to do that. But the point is, here I put all my keys over there. So if I do AI pack, this is AI pack. Check keys. That allows me to show you that I have the keys, but without showing you the values. So I have all these guys in the step. So that's why when I do Codex, then it works. Codex session, working there, model, Codex mini latest, okay. Oh, they have their own codex. Yeah. Provider. I don't want to bug you too much. This full read access. Read access is okay. Reasoning medium effort, summary 2. Okay. So let's go and see that. So bottom line is, you don't need to do the node install stuff. I think that you get the full stuff there. So that's pretty cool. So that thing. So I don't want to, I'm not familiar with Codex, so I don't want to waste people's time on Codex. I use AI pack, obviously, my stuff. I'm not saying Codex is bad. I might play with it a little bit to see what's going on over there. But for me, the AI pack, it has a high level of customizability, and I like to work. So for example, when I go, for example, to CD, let's go CD. Oh, this one is, I don't know why. Yeah, my computer gets a little bit slow. Sometimes I reboot my OBS, but if I do that, it might end the stream. So I'm like, worried about that. This one is much better. So I go to CD TMP, okay, mkdir, demo codex, CD demo codex, and then I'm going to codex. Oh yeah, it doesn't have the thing, JKeys, codex. We recommend using it inside a Git repository. It helps to ensure that changes are checked. That is pretty good. I might steal this guy from my pro coder. This is very, very good here. And you know what? I'm going to follow what he's saying. And so we have time here. I mean, if people don't drop in, I keep talking. So let's go and have fun. So what we have done here is pretty cool, yeah? I mean, cool is relative, obviously, but for us, it's cool. So we went to the OpenAI Codex, which is open source. I did a Git clone of the whole thing. And then I went to codex.rs, and then codex CLI, and I did a cargo install. I did this guy. I did a cargo install path. Yeah, so that installs the codex. Now we have it everywhere. This is magic stuff about Rust. So now that we have that, we can go there. I'm going to answer, before I do that, I'm going to answer your question here, Xavier. Can you explain a bit about Agentic API, send requests and stuff? Yeah, so I can do that. So let me show you guys one thing. I think I have the MCP over there. So in MCP, the way that MCP works is you have an MCP host. The MCP host is your application. So what they're saying here with Codex is say, hey, with Rust now we can reuse MCP existing library, which I don't think is the case, at least today, because they seem to have their own implementation, which I've been implementing quite a bit of MCP. I don't think they have, stuff there. It might work, for some requests, but I fear that there's a lot of missing. But the point is, you have your host, MCP host, and in this case, it's Codex, or AI Pack, or whatever, or Cloud Desktop, or your Cloud Apps, or whatever. And then you have your component there, and then you have MCP clients, pair clients, and that is a stateful. So this is a beast here. This one here is not trivial to implement both sides, because an MCP client can become a server some of the times. So with sampling, mean that these guys doesn't know what it asks the MCP client sometimes to say, hey, send me back, ask the AI and send me back the response. So sometimes when you call a tool, then sampling goes back here and then go back there. And so your client becomes a server. So it's a little bit a beast here to implement these two guys from a good application model. But the point here is with MCP server, we have all of these APIs that you can ask the list of tools, call tools, get the prompts, get the resources and the routes and everything. Yeah, so that is the APIs that we have. Now, the ergonomics that I've decided to have in the agentic, that is an MCP. So the way that I decided to have that is a pretty cool Rust stuff. The way that I decided to have it is you create your client like that, and then look at that. You just have a list params, and then you just send requests. So whatever you do, for example, in this case here, we are calling two tools, and then we're even calling get prompts params. Okay? So we're calling a tool, call tool params over there. We're building it, and then we're calling it there, and then we're building it, and then we're calling it there. And these two params is another guy. Yeah? Now, all of these guys here, the beauty of the design, which I like, is that this is a type here called tool params, but the design of this API to say, hey, when you are calling this one, same client, same function, I'm going to return a type, which is called tool result. Here it's called tool result. But here is get prompt result. So, and if we go back on this guy, it's going to be a list tool result. But every time we send that. So that was in purpose here on the design, because I wanted something ergonomic where you build your params stuff by default or put values inside. And then you just say a send request, and then you send your request. And that is where I use generic, because in Rust, a function can only return always the same concrete type. And this is concrete, yeah? It's not a box stuff or whatever. So the thing here is, what I do is the rec here, which is a request, needs to implement the into MCP request, and also this guy into MCP request. There's a reason why there are two, but this guy here is a trait that say, hey, I take a param, but when people implement me, okay, so the params they're implementing into MCP request, they need to provide the methods and the type of the MCP result. So that is where the magic happens. Because then here I'm saying, hey, it's the result of MCP response of the generic rec MCP result. What that means is that bit of function, and I think is okay, is repeated when you use the library for all of the combination of the params you are giving. Yeah, that's fine. That's what generic is. And usually there's only one because it's a one-to-one mapping kind of stuff. So I like a lot this ergonomic. When I was playing about it, and I use example, I like a lot this ergonomic of APIs. So I don't have different things. It's always send requests, and then you get the type back. So hopefully I answer your question, Xavier. And we still have 23, so we can do the stuff over there. And what can we do? Can go there, not agentic, go back to our codex. Sorry, I'm being slow here. We're going to go back to our terminal business. What we say is to say, we like the codex guy, so I'm going to do a code here. Can I, sometimes when I close some application, it helps. Let me see if I can close some stuff. Sorry, I'm closing some app because, no. Okay, terminal. Again, typically what I will do is I will shut down the OBS, restart, but if I shut it down, it's going to kick everybody out and then we won't come back in. So CD TMP, ls, CD codex. It's funny, CD demo codex. Okay, we do a code. So that is the way I like it. So it does code over there. I'm going to snap it there. And channel something. I have a bit here. I'm going to create a file here. So that is for you guys. VS Code, settings, JSON. So that's my live business, such as get better, have the right font. Now, when I'm going to close that, it's going to disappear, but it's still there. Now, every time I do a git ignore like this, git ignore. Okay. Oh no. Oh, sorry, guys. I close Chrome over my excitement of closing many apps. And the cool thing is that it didn't. So give me a sec. I need to go back to my studio. Content, live. And then I go to the live business. Then I'm going to show the chat again. Sorry about that. Got lost for a moment. Okay, back there. So now what I do is I have a Rust 10x that I'm maintaining. It's a little extension with all the snippets that I have. And it's 10x, they all start with 1. So 1 10x, git more. And that is my little base that I like, which basically ignore everything. So my best practices is I ignore all of the, everything that starts with dot except git ignore. And then I have a whole safeguard. Yeah, because if you put a big files, it's a pain after to remove them. So I have that. I'm going to put this. I'm going to get init dot get c, which is an alias to do the thing. Dot means small initial. Yeah, that's fair. Git add. Oh. And then I have this one. Okay. So now we are there. This one should become green. Okay. Should become normal. And then we have our code, J keys, not proud, codex. Boom. Okay. So now we have that. And it's pretty cool. They're using Ratatouille, I think. Are they using Ratatouille? I think they're using Ratatouille, yeah. And Ratatouille, that is a correct pronunciation. Codex. Up. I'm going to go to, I'm just curious. I think we saw it, yeah? Oh, they are using that TUI, so we go back there, it's fine. So that's clean. They put all of the TUI over there. And that takes some work to do it well, so that's pretty cool. They did it. It's funny, yeah? They always have these things. Interesting. Maybe a reason for this. And then I guess there is a Ratatouille somewhere. Cross term. Oh yeah, Ratatouille. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, that is good. Anyway, this is really geek stuff. Stuff, then send message. Okay, so I'm going to say, can you create a Rust project? Simple, async, say hello world. Enter. Okay. I don't know which models are using. Yeah. Your organization must be verified to generate reasoning summaries. Are you kidding me? What? Oh, this is not nice. I cannot select it. Oh yeah, because I take over the mouse. Yeah, well. Oh no, I'm going to have to log in here. I don't know. I don't know. You guys, I can do that. That is disappointing. Okay, I am in the below here. I'm going to log in. I don't even know what's verified because I don't think I did with. So I have a consulting company, by the way. If you have an enterprise, you want architect as a service, we can do that. Disable user API keys. No, so I'm going to follow link again here. Option click. Open. Oh, verify organization. Verify you will need to complete an entity. You're kidding me. Start ID check. Okay, that is crazy. People are doing that? Okay. Honestly, I don't want it. I don't understand it. Codex Mini latest. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, this is. I'm mind blown. I must be missing something so obvious because my first experience here, the guy asked me to verify. Now I'm saying continue another barcode. They are going to ask my mother maiden name. I'm going to have to call my mom and ask that. And so it's crazy stuff. Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. There's so many good models that doesn't ask you that. But I don't understand the whole thing. I don't know what to say. I'm going to do one last shot here. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. But this is weird, yes? So if you know someone, or I might be missing something, yeah? So if I feel a little bit things and pedantic here, first I'm French, so French people are always pedantic, but then if I miss something, and you guys know, tell me. But this is very weird, yeah? I have my keys, I pay my dues. And so I don't understand why suddenly they are saying that I need to verify to have reasoning on building Rust program. Now I say, well, it's not about, it has to be generic. Yeah, perhaps, but it's a weird thing. So one thing I'm going to do now is Codex. So we're going to learn how to make, it's funny. So I'm going to do something funny here. So rather to go to that guy, we're going to go there. Okay, this is bad, but this is how I do. I'm lazy to go there, so I'm going to go to the look at the code and see the option here, which is going to be a model. No. So okay, so this here, model. No. So I don't know, I'm a little bit stuck here. If I go to Codex, let me do that. Go back there. Sorry, Codex -H. Model -M. Model. Wait. Okay, now yeah, okay, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to use Codex -M, and I'm going to, this is terrible experience here. I'm going to show you what I do with AI Pack. It's not to compare, yeah, I have great respect for OpenAI and everything. I'm not, but this is not the way you should be coding with AI. And I'm sure people like it. Again, it's my perspective. I don't hold truth. And so I'm going to go GPT-4.1. Is that correct? Okay, that's good. Can you start a Rust project async just hello world? Okay, so that's much better. Command fail. Retry without sandbox. Okay, that's fine. They had the sandbox guys. What are they doing? Okay, that's weird. I'm going to say yes. What are they doing? Oh, that's so funny. At least they're eating their own dog food. We love to say that. When I was working at Oracle, we had bad products, and we always say we like to eat our dog food. Okay, fine. You had bad food, but you like bad food, but you shouldn't. It should be a you problem, not a they problem. Oh my God, what are they doing? This is super scary. Again, great respect about stuff, but this is a wow. Are they crazy or what? I have an again a guess. Oh, it fails. Okay, I honestly am not. So some of you are using this guy. I mean, am I missing something? Like, okay, I'm escape. I don't want to use this guy anymore. This guy scares me. I'm going to tell you why he scares me. Okay, so I thought Codex used sandbox built Python and TypeScript environment. Yes, I think they do that. So that might be the reason why. But it's very weird. And okay, this is a very weird. Well, I wouldn't like that. I'm going to show you, the AI pack way, which I think is better. It's not my purpose. Use whatever you want. It's cloud desktop and things. I'm not trying to push anything. I'm obsessed with productivity and stuff. So when I do this kind of things, or everything I do is because of my obsession about productivity and things. It's not because I'm trying to push something. So use whatever you want. But here's the thing, the experience that I have. We're going to go actually. We're going to do a TMP demo. So that's my demo. I'm going to delete everything. Git log. Oh no, git restore. Okay, so I have a TMP demo where I put all my demos and I do stuff, and then I just have my little git ignore. So this way, that is the thing. I do a JKey keys like that, and that is my environment variable. It's a hack. It's not part of AI pack. Now I can do AI pack. The way to install AI pack, you do cargo install AI pack, or you go to the site here. Again, I'm not saying, I'm just showing you an alternative stuff, and then you can install the binary. So I actually have the whole binary here for the 3 operating systems, works across systems, and then on Linux and Mac, right now you can do even AIP self space update, and it will update in place. In Windows, I need to do a little ping pong game. It's not there yet. So now when you are there, I'm going to close this guy. I'm going to say AIP, check keys, and then it's going to say, hey, you have all the keys in your environment variable. Everything good. Now what I do is AIP install pro@coder. So that will install the pro@coder, which is a pack, which has an agent, which allows me to code. AI pack doesn't know about coding. It's just a coder. By the way, the coder here is 11 kilobyte. So then after, once we have done, I'm going to do an AIP. I already have them installed, but install pro@Rust 10x. This is where I put best practices, the one that I have on the video. Once I have that, then I do an AIP run pro@coder. So pro is a namespace, and coder is the pack. A pack can have one or more agents, can have knowledge and everything. So Rust 10x has a knowledge, markdowns of my best practices, and coder has the agent that is super cool. Now, boom, what it does. The way I like to work, and I might be the only one on the planet here because of stuff, I don't like to work too much on command line. The tools is a command line because command line is very useful because it's useful because you can have multiple instances, it's ID agnostic, and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, the way that I'm interacting is I have a minimum interaction of this guy. Okay? That is not where I'm going to write a prompt. I don't like to write prompt in a terminal or in a chatbot, by the way. When I code, I like files. I want files. And so the way it works here is AI pack gives me a set of APIs. There's a lot of APIs over there. So you can go to the AI pack documentation. And then you have all of these APIs. And it's Lua when you build your stuff. And you are not. Okay, it's good. I have Step with me. Yeah, Stefan. That's cool. So the way it works here is all of these APIs that we have seen, the procoder now can say, and that's the way I coded it because, I coded it for me in a way, but you can install it. It's fully open source and you can make it your own. But then I can say, okay, I'm going to have, there's a concept of parametric prompts. So because I have this little thing there, in my API of procoder, I can get those things as a dictionary. So now this is super cool because I am in my prompt. My prompt is there. This is what the AI answers. So here I put the doc at the beginning. And now I can say, okay, I want the base dir there. I am in Rustland. So I'm going to do that. I put package by default because, We still haven't won the planet. It's going to come, but right now, package is a little bit better. And Python is always a mess. So at least package.json is a little bit more similar. Yeah. And then structure globs is, the files. This is advanced stuff. That is a model aliases. I think I have the latest Flash, the latest guys. But in AI pack -base, I have my model aliases as well. So I could comment these guys. And here I'm going to say true. If I don't put true, it's going to put below, but not writing files. I do want to write files. And then here if I had this like this, it will use GPT-4, or I can use a G-Pro. So I'm going to do G-Pro there. Okay, so like this, I don't have to copy. I can change fast. I can change the aliases there, but I also have alias there if I want it in the config. Yeah, so that is the option aliases that I could have at the workspace level, or I can go to my .ai pack-base config. Once I have that, and because in my knowledge, so knowledge globe is, his knowledge, and I'm going to add my Rust 10x guys. So I know the Rust 10x, and there's a guide and the base over there where I have all the things. So I'm going to put that guy, press save, and then I go there, and I'm going to say the same thing I said before. Can you create a Rust project following the Rust 10x practices? Press enter, and now you can go back here. So terminal is still good. I'm not saying terminal is bad. I'm just saying for me, I like to have files as my user interface in a way. So it's kind of a hybrid mode, and I like that. And then I'm going to press R here to replay. So I keep that. So that is one session that I can keep running. And then it will send it to Gemini 2.5 Pro. I'm a big fan of this model. And then it will create it. I could have created it with Flash. Flash, because it's relatively simple, will have created it pretty well. So now I'm going to wait a little bit. Things has been a little bit slow right now with that guy. And then that will create, boom, the files. And here's the thing here with Codex, and the reason why it's not, I understand why they want the sandbox business. In AI Pack, the APIs that I have when you use, and there's a way to work around it, so I need to sandbox it. But the Lua APIs only allow you to read everything, but to write only files that are within AI Pack workspace. An AI Pack workspace is a folder that has an AI Pack somewhere, the parent. Okay? So that is the way it works. And so here what it writes, and there's no cargo things or cargo stuff. Yeah. In fact, if you look at what he has done before, that was very interesting in the Codex. And the reason why I was like laughing a little bit, demo Codex. Remember, we don't have it there, but when we run it, it says cargo new lib, cargo new main. That 100%, we're going to have lib and main in cargo to ML, which doesn't make sense because it's rare when a binary is a lib as well. It's possible, but it's rare. And you shouldn't do things that raise questions. That is the definition of a good code. You don't do things in a code that then people will say, oh, why do they have that? If it's not needed, don't put it in. And so we're going back there. Oops. Oh, because my new kind of failed because I was not in the sandbox. But if you look at the thing, it did both. So the new main work, but it did a new lib as well. So it did both. And I think this is why when we look at the Codex code, these guys, which is fine because, it's good they are using their own stuff, that doesn't really make sense. I think I might be wrong, so please correct me wrong. But if you look here and you search for all Codex CLI, nobody is using this except inside CLI. But here I will say, let's do that. I will say, hey, take this guy. Oops, sorry. Yeah, well, okay. I can be brave. Create. Save. Still compile. So there's no need to have a codex CLI. It's kind of actually weird because now you think it's a lib, but it's not a lib. No, it's not compiling. So I was wrong somehow. So what do they say? I still think it's weird. Okay. There might be a reason for that, but honestly, this guy here, so yeah. So all of these types, they haven't, so since I have crate, now I don't have libs. And so this one is not in scope because I don't have a mode business over there. So that, for example, where is the mode here? Okay. Where is an interesting way of doing it? I'm not sure. There may be a reason, by the way. If you know the reason, feel free to let me know. But me, I wouldn't do that like that. I will have a mode. Obviously, I'm not going to do a pull request, but I will have a mode, something, types. Okay. I'm not saying it should be types. Yeah. And then I will do something like that. Types. Okay, I will do that. And then I will rename that types. I will do something like that. And now this is where because now that is not a folder. It's an interesting way to do that. They might have a reason, by the way. So I'm going to change a little bit my stance here. They might have a reason. I'm not sure the benefit of doing this way. So they're putting in their lib, they have there, and then here they have all the mode. Might have a reason. I don't know. But I wouldn't do like that, and I'm not sure. So I might be wrong. Yeah, they might not have done. But if I go back to the demo of the AI pack here, boom, it created the things, and exactly like I have in my best practices. So if you go to my site here, which is rust10x.com, you have all these videos about the best practices, about errors, those guys. And then this is a 3, but then you have those guys, you have this guy, and now all of this is part of my best practices. I do like that. I have comment out the unused because I toggle in and out. And then I have the others. I like this little slicer here of things. Now, in the prompt, in my best practices, I say, hey, if it's just asking something, do not do anything. Yeah. So, do not add all of the types if it's not needed. And then when I have here, it created my best practices. And you can have your own best practices. And then my main over there and results over there. Yeah. And that is a way that I like to do it. I use derived more, display from, and then this is exactly the way I do it. So when I ask code here, so if I'm going to go there, I'm going to do git add and git c initial, first pass. And then I'm going to go back there. So usually I pin this guy and say, can you make the main async now? Okay. I give you the price here, 3 cents, number of sync completion, the reasoning. And then I can do that. I can change the model there. So now I can say, hey, I want to have Claude, about Claude. Yeah. So that will be Claude. And then I just, without restarting anything, so I have the command R that wire R to this guy. And then I do a command R. So the thing here is that I'm really not a big fan of Codex. Is I think they went a little bit overboard with this command line business. Yeah, that's my take. But because even without the best practices, a good AI model will create cargo to ML and source and stuff. It will be plain, but they will create it. So I'm not sure why everything needs to be a command line. Because once you're in a command line land, you open a whole kind of worm that you have to control. And so now if I go back there, I should have the async. Yeah, I did the Tokyo async. I don't know why. Oh yeah, because it's let me do this. So like this, we see the what has been edited. So this one here is because, oh wow. Okay, I will have seen that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. This might. I'm not sure that that should be there, but whatever. So that is the way it works. And then you can ask stuff, and then you see the response there. And if you want, you can see exactly what the AI has responded to you here with all of the files. So the procoder will extract that, will see that there is this, and then we'll put it in the right file. So there's no command kind of business in a way. I'm not saying command is bad, but so that is a way that I like to work here. The codex is interesting. I think it's awesome they want to Rust. I think their staff forgot what I was saying. You know, they might have a good reason that I don't know. They might be more advanced about the lib. The way that they are doing the libs might be completely valid. And it doesn't break. It's not nothing wrong. Yeah, it's not the way I would do it, but might have a good reason. Now, if you want to have a crate and then somehow you want to make it a lib, such as someone can use it a lib, typically what you will do, what I will do, is I will split the part that is a lib into its own lib. Yeah? And I wouldn't make my main reusing my lib. I would just put them, all this mod business here, I will put them there. There might be a reason, I don't. Now, the cool thing here is, I don't know what is that, those guys. So I don't know what they do when they open the sandbox stuff. So anyway, if anybody has good Codex experience or can teach me or educate me about Codex, feel free to answer this one. This video, I'm going to keep it public for life, for the life of YouTube stuff, or the life of stuff. And then if you have any comment or stuff, feel free to add comments below. If there's a good reason to do the lib things, there might be a good reason that I'm missing. Feel free to tell me. It's maybe good. And even if there's not a good reason, I'm not saying it's fundamentally wrong. And yeah, otherwise it's awesome. I'm super happy that OpenAI is moved to Rust. Anthropic, you are going to move to Rust, you know, for your cloud desktop. You're not going to stick with Node.js for a command line. I'm not sure you will. So the sooner the better. And the other one is Go, but I think Rust, you get more mileage. But Go is a good technology. It's a robust technology. Any question, feel free to ask below. For the one that are on MS Team over there. Yeah, so I always do this MS Team business. So if you want to join and have the real-time video, and then you also have the real-time audio. The only trick is it's a little bit tricky to put the chat into the same kind of things that I have over there. And then sometimes I miss chat. So if you go there, like feel free to turn on the audio and everything. Okay, so I think that will conclude that stream. Hope it was useful to some. And until next one, happy coding.